Good morning and welcome to our largest safari vehicle in the world. As you can see there's a beautiful Impala just getting itself groomed and ready for a day out in Africa, and it is a wonderful morning this morning. We've got the most beautiful sunrise and golden light that is being cast across the plains. Right, my name is Tristan, and on camera today I have Willem the wildebeest, and this is coming to you live from South Africa, and that means that you can interact with us, which is #SafariLive on Twitter and also the YouTube chat if you would like to ask any questions. And thank you to all of you that sent through any information on the dam cam from last night. I believe there was a leopard sawing and lions roaring, and so lots was going on. There's also lots of chatter this morning. It seems as though a Monday morning meeting is being had by our green wood hoopoes as they display to one another and bounce their tails and chatter excitedly. It looks like the DRC camp at 5 o'clock in the morning when everyone's around the coffee station and having an excitable chat. But these guys are fairly common out here. We see a lot of them. They're actually a beautiful bird. When the sun hits them just right, they get this iridescent green-blue coloration, and then with that bright red beak are absolutely wonderful birds to see and to start the day. So it seems as though life is all around, and hopefully we'll have a good morning. There's lots and lots of hyena activity to our north, and they're calling quite excessively, so I'm going to head up in that direction. I know the Birmingham males had that buffalo kill to the north of us, and maybe that's why the hyenas are making a lot of noise, is because maybe the Birminghams have abandoned that buffalo and they're then tucking in. It is north of the boundary, but we're going to go and have a little look around and see what we can find. That's the plan anyway. Otherwise, just to take it as it comes and just enjoy a beautiful cloudless sky, because it's been a long time since we've seen that. It is still quite chilly this morning. It's about 58 degrees Fahrenheit or 14 degrees Celsius, which is cold for this time of the year, but I think it's going to warm up very, very fast. That sun is already starting to feel as though it's got a bit of spike to it, so I'm sure by this afternoon it's going to be quite warm, or by the end of the drive. So we're going to try and utilize these cooler conditions while we can and try and see what we can find while it is still a little cooler, and hopefully we will be able to spot something of interest as we go along. Well, of course we'll find something of interest. There's lots of interesting things out here besides just the animals. Willem, did you sleep well? Yeah. Willem slept well, I slept well. I think we're all ready for a good morning out. Now, we had this perfect shot lined up to start before we did our kind of introduction, and it was all the impalas standing beautifully in that orange morning light, and then every single one of them just left. But I see now that they are slowly but surely coming across, and it is beautiful the way that they're just walking across the plain. Sorry, Wiem, I'm giving you a nightmare with leveling here, so making tough work for Wiem, unfortunately. But there are these impalas that are just slowly but surely, single file, just kind of coasting along and just moving through that morning orange light. It is an absolutely beautiful thing as they're doing it. You see the one moving across, and then there's a couple others that are slowly coming. Now, most of these impalas will have been here during the night, and the reason why is because it's much more open here. It's a lot safer to be in an area like this than it is to be in the thickets. And now that the sun is up, and the sun is quite high already, actually, it's amazing how fast it's gotten to where it is, and that means that, you know, most of the predators are going to start slowing down a little bit, and therefore these guys can start making their way into areas that are not only going to have a lot more food but also a lot more shelter. And so there they go through past the camp as well, and that's it. There we go. We're going to leave our impalas to revel in the morning light as we carry on and see what else we can find. Then you reckon Gallagher shortcut for these hyenas, or where do you think? They seem like they're calling north of us, don't they? Maybe. Let's see. I wonder if maybe something's going on, because they've been very talkative this morning. It's already quite late in the morning for the hyenas to be so talkative, so we're going to just go and check. It's not their excitable, giggling cackle that they have when they've got food, or there's some sort of kind of interruption or disturbance amongst them. It's more just a whooping, their normal kind of territorial call, but it's been going on for quite some time, so I just want to go and check what's happening. Maybe there's a couple of them that have met and come together after a while of not seeing each other, and so that's why I want to go and try and have a little look for them. Right, now I believe Jamie Patterson is out. I think she had a day off yesterday, and so I believe she's out and ready to go, and I hope she's feeling a little bit better. The last time we saw her, she wasn't feeling so well. But let's jump across and say good morning as she negotiates the Mara sunrise.
Very good morning to all of you, and welcome to the Sunrise Safari Mara portion. What am I trying to say? Mara portion is what I'm trying to say. My name is Jamie, and this morning Sebastian is on camera with me. and we're heading out into the Masai Mara here in Kenya. So you've been looking at Impala with Tristan. Here we go, let's do a neat little size comparison, because of course the Impala here in East Africa are, they're giants when you compare them to the South African Impala. They are absolutely massive, and they're all staring at something. What are you all staring at? Good morning. No, don't run away. Don't run away. Stay where you are. There we go. Just look at the comparison of those horns when you think of the South African Impala. And that, of course, is because there's no strict breeding season here. So unlike in South Africa, where you've got, well, all of the Impala ewes must be due to give birth very, very soon. In the next few weeks, I imagine. Here in Kenya and in East Africa, the Impala actually rut pretty much all year round. So you see baby Impala of different ages all the time, which is it was a strange experience when I first arrived, because it's so sort of counter to what I've been accustomed to. So the combination of food availability and the increased levels of testosterone needed pretty much all year round have made the Impala here much, much larger. Their horns are enormous. Probably about double the size of those in South Africa, or close to. And they're all in absolutely sublime condition. Highly underappreciated, I feel. We don't stop and stare at them long enough. I'm trying to see if I can see any little ones. I can't though. Becca, you want to know which African animal has the longest horns? Give me a second, I'm thinking. I'm just double checking myself, because I think the kudu has the longest horns. I suppose it depends also if you're talking about in terms of proportion to its body size. Buffalo horns are also exceptionally large here, and I think the kudu probably beats them in terms of length. I'm trying to think if there's another antelope that we haven't seen, like a bongo or something like that, but I don't think their horns are longer than that of a kudu. Just trying to think. Is there anything else? I can't think of anything else. I think the kudu probably has the longest horns. We can double check with Brent and with Tristan, but I think that's the answer. What other antelope have very long horns? If you can think of something that I'm not thinking of, which is possible because it's very early in the morning, you can send that through on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. That is, of course, how you can get hold of us. For any questions, just like Becca's, or anything else that you can, well, pretty much anything else you can think of. I have this vague feeling I'm forgetting something obvious. Okay, we're going to travel along towards the rising sun, I think. I don't think we'll find a house, but we might find the Mara River, so we're going to head in that direction. Let's jump across to Brent to find out if he agrees with my answer.
Welcome, 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 and it is another beautiful but slightly windy and chilly morning here in the Mara. My name is Brent Smith, and I am reunited with Dangerous Dave, the dimpled dish, for the first time in some time. He's come back from leave, looking fresh and rested, so quite nice to have Dangerous Dave back on the vehicle with me. And we're not sure where we're heading yet. I think we might head down towards the crossings, see if there's any zebra massing, because the wildebeest are gone, but there are still likely to be some zebra moving to and from and across the marvelous, magical, murderous Mara River. Now, Jamie was saying the longest horns on an antelope. I think kudu's pretty good, but I'm trying to think now if in terms of straight length or length along the horn, because length along the horn, things like a scimitar horned, or it's an addex or sable, or maybe even a Kempspork. So could have the twirls. So we're going from tip to base, or we're actually going for length along the horn. Now, that is a question to ask. But I'd say it's kudu, oryx, and sable. Addax, they've got very long where they bend round. So I think overall they might be a little bit longer than a kudus. Same with the sable as they bend round. Well, I will think about it, and hopefully I'll have an answer for you. Now, hashtag Safari Live if you've got any questions. We'd love to hear from you. Now, yesterday I was doing a bit of birding in the morning, but unfortunately I think with this very strong wind, the birding is going to be a bit difficult. We will try to get some of the incredible bird species we see in the Mara on camera for you. Now, yesterday morning I got a new bird species which doesn't happen very often, which was a greater spotted eagle, which was very exciting for me. Now I'm hoping in the next 2 weeks I think I'm going to get quite a lot of new bird species, because I haven't birded much in the beautiful country of Uganda. And of course we are heading there on leave. Going to go look for some shoewills first up, and a papyrus golololonek. And of course I'm making that up. A golonek is a type of, well, not making up, but a golololonek is made up. They are a type of weaver, and that occur all over Africa, but they are quite limited in their distribution. Now, the papyrus golonek is endemic to large papyrus swamps. So, and only in Central Africa, really. So, let's show you. They're very pretty birds. Let me show you quickly. And I know Tristan's going to be very jealous, especially about the shoebills and the goloneks. Where is it now? There we go. Very funny-looking birds. I said they were a weaver. I'm talking absolute nonsense. Actually, a type of shrike. So there is the papyrus golonek, number 4. Incredibly beautiful bird that we're going to be looking for in the papyrus swamps on Lake Victoria. So there's a very good chance of seeing them when we go look for the shoebill. Now, for those of you who don't know what a shoebill looks like, Jamie calls it the dinosaur bird. It is a very funny looking bird. Let's have a quick look. Oh, but it sounds like Tristan's got a smelly predator to show you, so I'll have to show you a picture of the shoebill a little later.
We do indeed. We don't just have one spotty predator. We have, I think it's 5 of them in total that I've counted, and one of them has got a massive buffalo leg that it's busy dragging all the way, and we're going straight towards the den, so we're going to follow them and keep up with them as they make their way. Who they all are, I have no idea. There's just lots of them in there. Comes a 6th one now down the road as well. So we're going to have a whole bunch of them. They're all filing out of Buffelshoek. They all got round, big tummies. So it seems as though our Birmingham males obviously lost their buffalo kill to all of these hyenas somehow. Either they abandoned it, or, well, they just got lost out to a whole bunch. Because here comes another one trotting down the road towards us. So there is another hyena that's on its way. Now, identifying all of these is going to be quite interesting, because the 3 in front all are big individuals that have already left us. We can't see them just yet, and then there's all of these younger, smaller individuals that are coming through, but they are heading to the den, so I think we're going to hear a lot of vocalizing from the den itself. I'm just waiting for this one behind us to come past. Come on. Hello. Very cool. Jenny Animation and Langston, you're very excited that we found hyenas. I'm pretty excited too, because they're the most hyenas I've ever seen on Djuma altogether. Now, you might be wondering why on earth I'm leaving them and going this way, and the answer to this is going to be very simple. The den is right here, and that they're all crossing and cutting towards the den, and I want to get up to the one with the buffalo kill, and with the buffalo leg that it's carrying, because that one's going to get to the den first, and as soon as it gets to the den, there's going to be much excitement and much calling and a lot of entertainment. And so I want to try and get to the den site with the one carrying the leg, because that's just going to be a lot of fun watching the little one tucking into her leg. And you can see she's up in front still dragging, and look at the size of this piece of meat that she's dragging with her. She's got skin, she's got a leg, and it just shows you how powerful these hyenas are. Look at that. How cool is that? So you can see she's got a massive piece. It's a lot of skin more than anything else, but it's not easy to carry that. It's awkward. She keeps standing on the skin itself, and she's making a lot of mess. But so cool. That's so cool. And you can see she's round as well. But let's go across to the den. She's going to the den. The rest of them are slowly but surely all moving in that direction as well. They might just cut south, or some of them might carry on and go somewhere else. But it's going to be interesting to see exactly who these are. I would love to know from all of you if anybody can identify all of the 6 hyenas that we've seen, because they seem to be kind of all related. They're all part of the same clan. But now I just want to quickly get hold of Rexon. Yeah, Rex, there's 6 of them. They're dragging some of this nyama from that buffalo kill, but they're all going to the den, so just come straight to the den. So we're just going to the den itself. They'll come through. We're going to have to wait a little bit, and just because we're cutting right ahead of them and kind of heading to where they're eventually going to end up. Becca, you're asking if hyenas hunt or scavenge more often. Well, it depends in the area that you're in. So here in the Sabi Sands, they mostly scavenge, although they will hunt from time to time. And last year during the droughts, we saw hyenas hunting a lot, particularly buffalo. They hunted a lot of them and killed a lot of them. But most of the hyenas here are scavenging more than they're hunting. In other parts of the world where hyenas outnumber lions and leopard and their populations are higher, you'll find those hyenas tend to hunt a lot more than these ones. So it just depends on the area. It's area specific, but they are incredibly good hunters. They get this reputation that they don't know how to hunt, but they most certainly do. They're very, very good at hunting, and they will be able to, you know, hunt a lot of different things. So they do hunt a lot, and even here, like I say, we do see them hunting at times. Right, where do you think is going to be best, Vildi? Other side, maybe. Sorry? Up here you think is going to be good. So I was wondering about the light, but maybe you're right. Maybe here's going to be better. We're going to have the most clearest view, that's for sure, of what goes on. Now the little ones won't be out yet, so it's going to be as though it's not active because the adults haven't arrived back yet. But as soon as the adults arrive back here, which will be shortly because I can see them already arriving with food, we should get a little bit of vocalizing, we should get a bit of kind of calling, and then the little ones will come out and they're going to see food and they're going to be super excited. And I think we're going to hear a really nice little soundtrack as to how the greeting goes when Mama arrives back at the den. So super cool to see. And our hyena following up paid off, because it's like I say, the most hyenas that I've seen on Djuma in all the time I've been here together. We've seen a few of them, kind of 4 or 5, but never 6 of them together. So it's really cool. There comes the one now with the buffalo bit that she's got. So she's coming through the thicket. There we go. And it's just the leg of it and a lot of skin. Don't stop there. Come, keep coming. No, I think she's tired. It must be tiring. Can you imagine how much effort it takes to drag that all the way? And she's dragged that from far. I mean, she's dragged it from north of the boundary all the way along. But look at the size of that stomach. She is absolutely massive. They all are. Every single one of these hyenas that is arriving here has got these huge bellies. And like I say, listen. They're still just greeting one another. They're just checking who's here. So there we go. That's them just greeting, making sure everybody knows who's who. How cool was that? That was absolutely better than I expected. So I was hoping we'd get a greeting and lots of commotion, and we did. The best thing about it is all the ones that are answering from far away. There's probably another 3 or 4 that are even further than the ones we've seen answering, and here comes another individual that's just arrived at the den as well. So it's going to be interesting to see the way that Gwen and Ribbon react to all of these other hyenas coming in. So Gwen is with her 2 little ones, and they're a bit perplexed by all this noise that's happening. Now, Intima was the one that was making most of the noise, and Intima was making that noise because she's trying to get towards the meat, and Gwen was trying to keep her away from it so her little ones could feed, because remember, Gwen is the one that dragged this carcass all the way to here. There we go. You can see Intima's just feeding a little bit and getting herself sorted. It seems as though the rest of the hyenas are all slowly but surely now arriving. There's another 3 that have come in, so they're all just drifting in from this thicket. Lots of hyenas, lots of talking. I'm just going to reposition myself slightly so that VM there we go. That's better for VM, so that he can get. And this should attract all the hyenas in. The squealing that we're hearing, that should get all of them to come in to see what's actually going on and check what's happening. It really is amazing to hear this. You can see Gwen is on high alert. She's just making sure nothing's happening. The rest of the hyenas that are part of the clan are just drifting past us now. So most of them are on the other side of this thicket. Whether they'll come close towards where the cubs are, I don't know. That's maybe why Gwen has just gone towards where the den is and is just... Oh, where are you dragging that to now? Look at the power in that hyena already. It's small, much smaller than the adults, but it's still able to drag that whole thing around, the skin and all. Absolutely incredible. And everywhere I look, more hyenas are just arriving. There's lots of just in the backgrounds, just these kind of heads and little bodies that are making an appearance. But you see how Gwen has positioned herself that she can defend her little ones if any of these hyenas potentially are not ones that she knows. There's one in the background behind her, can see moving in from the back area. Shame, my girls. Is it tough to even sit down with a belly like that? Oh, she almost rolled over. That is absolutely massive. She must have eaten herself silly at that carcass because her belly is about as big as her rest of her body. How cool is this, though? So it's interesting, though, that the little ones, even though they are able to start eating meat already, their first kind of port of call is milk more than anything else. So it just shows you that they prefer the milk at this age. They want milk rather than the actual meat itself. They prefer mom's milk and sort of checking out what's going on. What's interesting is the behavior of all the other hyenas. The others are just standing off slightly. You can see now they're even starting maybe to depart the scene, and it will be interesting when they come in and they start sniffing as to what's going on. Here comes another one, also from the left hand side. So it's going to be a busy morning at the den by the looks of things. There we go. So how many is that now? That's a lot of hyenas. It seems like 6 adults and then the 3 little ones that we all have at the den itself, which is quite cool. Right, now we have got a cuteness overload in the form of our little ones that are investigating all these other clan members. There's a bit of crunching going on from Intima. I think the adults are fairly tired and going to pass out, but somebody else has also managed to find something that is very, very cute and one of my favorite things to watch in life, and that is a very, very small pachyderm.
Cuteness overload, you say? Well, Tristan, we see your hyena cubs, and we've tried in our own way to match it with a tiny, tiny little baby elephant, the same one that I saw 2 days ago on the sunset safari. So there she is, the little wobbly girl, and I know it's the same one because I recognize the mother, and I recognize their older sister as well, who's catching up, or will catch up in a moment. So there's Sis over there, that's her. That's the one just between the trees there. Now this is the older sister, and the last time that we were with this particular herd of elephants, this sister was showing such a lovely side to her nature and the way that she was babysitting her little sister. It was too sweet. Oh, look, the little one's suckling now. Oh, no, it's not. I thought it was. It looks so tiny, it looks like it could barely be able to reach Mum. There you go. Already a great deal more coordinated than it was 2 days ago. Still a little wobbly. Oh, bump. And still essentially trying to trip Mum up. It's amazing. One of our viewers commented not so long ago that it's astounding that mothers never step on their babies or hurt their babies, because they're so underfoot. And of course elephants can't see down there. But she's so gentle and so aware of the little one, and all of her movements are geared with it in mind. It's the best place to be. Warm, sheltered. Don't need to worry about where you're going, because you basically just hang out under Mom's belly, and she'll take care of you. The sheltered life of an elephant. Hey, little one. You are so cute. Poor Mom has to walk like with her legs out. Anna-Marie, you say that baby Ellies are too sweet and little one mustn't fall over. As I said, a lot more coordinated than it was the last time we saw it, when it was stumbling over every hole. One of my favorite things about baby elephants, though, is to watch when they do have a little accident like that. When they get a slight speed wobble, for example. Often they're playing and they're running and they get so distracted that they end up tripping over and falling down, face first or bottom first or something along those lines. They are hilarious to watch. They're definitely one of the cutest animals that we see. All baby animals are cute. It's difficult to find a baby animal that's not cute. But baby elephants are special. I think it's the combination of the ears and the trunk that they don't know how to use. Oh, hi, Bacon. I'm sure it does happen. So, Oh, hi, Bacon is wondering if any animals do have their offspring prematurely. Obviously, depending on how premature the baby is, it will affect its chances of survival. So if it's a very premature baby, unfortunately, it probably won't survive. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a vet, and I'm not 100% sure, but one of the things I wondered about was whether that baby elephant that we saw that didn't make it, whether perhaps it was slightly premature. And that was one of the reasons why it wasn't strong enough and the umbilical cord was still so thick compared to its body size. But then I'm not 100% sure on that, because it didn't look that much smaller than the other baby elephants that I've seen that have been born. So I'm not sure. But yes, they do have premature babies. They also miscarry. I think it was Taylor, actually, who recently found what looked like a zebra fetus, still in the amniotic sac and still partially developed, but unfortunately obviously didn't make it. Stillborns happen as well, but chances are, as a very premature baby, it won't be able to survive. That precocial nature of little animals out here, not something like a lion cub or a leopard cub, but when you talk about baby antelope, baby elephant, that need to get up and move with the rest of the herd is essential. Here we go, one that's slightly older and therefore slightly more adventurous in where she goes. Going to explore the base of the Balanites tree before returning to the safety of Mum, back to her side. Look, it's sucking its trunk, it's so sweet. I love it when they do that. Lynn, at around about 6 months of age, a baby elephant will start to eat grass. What we see with the little ones is that they do imitate the behavior of the adults, and they practice, but it's more a curiosity thing than it is an actual feeding thing. So at 6 months of age, they will start to properly supplement their diet with grass. It'll be another few years before they are fully weaned. Anywhere from 3 to 5, sometimes even more, if mum doesn't fall pregnant with another calf. So elephants do suckle for a very, very long period of time compared to excuse me, thank you, compared to quite a few other animals. Antelope are weaned within a couple of months. Lion cubs, usually less than a year. Baby elephants can take up to 5. We've spoken before about weaning tantrums, and they really do have tantrums because they cannot understand how mum could possibly not want to feed them. This has been a really lovely sighting. I'm going to continue making my way on towards the Mara River. In the meantime, from one matriarchal society to the next, let's jump back on board with Tristan.
Well, it is just absolute chaos, and there are hyenas coming from every direction. There are males, there are females, there's just everybody. I think pretty much the entire clan must be here at the moment. What's been super interesting is watching the reaction of the females to some of the males coming in. The males come in, and they're the ones that have actually stolen the bit of meat from Intima. So they've come in, and the females have kind of chased them off. And Ribbon is there now. She's busy kind of feeding as well. And then to our left, there's a whole bunch as well. There's a male here with very dark spots on his back. So he should be quite easy to identify. There we go. It looks like very dark spot. I think it's a male. Anyway, they're all so big and full at the moment, and it's just chaos. It's difficult to actually keep track of who is who in this area, but they're just literally appearing out of everywhere at the moment, and it's causing a lot of disturbance at the den. There's lots of squealing, lots of carry on, and Tima is trying to get into the food and trying to get into all kinds of places, and is just being bullied about by everybody really. And Gwen gave her a bit of a hiding because she came too close to the little ones, and you can see more now starting to come in. Where Tima's going down is because there's a whole bunch more starting to come in from that side as well. So there they are, and there's one behind that even that's also drifting around. So there's lots and lots of commotion, and it's really difficult to actually keep track of who's who and where they're all going from where we're sitting. We're sitting obviously just by the den and waiting, but there's just kind of hyenas arriving in everywhere, and there's lots of pasting going on. So there we go, that's the pasting scent mark that we talk about. So they have that little gland that sits just underneath the tail that as they go over grass, it secretes a paste that will sit there, and they'll then be able to mark their territory. There's also a very low-ranking male that's kind of on the fringes. Shame, he looks as though he's had a real tough time. I don't know where he's gone now, but he's got lots of bite marks on him. I don't think it's that individual though. He is one that looks as though he's had a rough time, but there's one individual who's got really serious bite marks all over the face, and it seems as though he must be the lowest of the low because he gets chased quicker than everybody else but when he comes around. So it's really interesting in the terms of social dynamics. Paula, you're asking how many hyenas would live in a single den. Well, it depends on the den itself. It depends on the size of the den, depends on the number of factors, but generally you won't see too many. I mean, see there how they just got chased. So Ribbon is just chasing, one of the females is chasing the males, go away, and then you can see Intima is now going up and greeting as well, doing that typical hyena side greeting, tail or leg up, and then they sniff each other and make sure they know who's who. But it's just interesting behavior. But Paula, back to the den, it depends on, like I said, the size of the den. Most of the times though, you won't see too many, and in this case this den is only really occupied by Gwen and Ribbon and their cubs. So it's got the two young ones that we know that are feeding off Gwen, and then Intima, who's the one now with her leg up being sniffed. And so those are the only three that really live inside the den. Every now and then you will get a situation like this, and this has been brought about because Gwen has dragged a bit of a carcass back into this area. It's allowed all of these hyenas to come back with her to this area, but they don't actually spend time here. For the most part, those hyenas will be roaming around and going to other places and lying down during the day, but they don't actually spend too much time at the den. The most hyenas I've seen at a den, that in terms of that are constantly there, was on Elephant Plains, which at one stage it was 9 young ones, and from the 9 young ones there was 5 adult females. So it was 14 of them that you used to see at the den pretty much every day, so which is is a lot. But you can see Gwen, she's up and looking, and I wonder if maybe all this commotion might attract another predator. You never know. Maybe lions or wild dogs or leopard or any of those things, even other hyenas might hear this and start coming in. And you can see Gwen is quite alert. She's all of a sudden stood up, watching around, checking, just making sure that there's nothing going on, nothing untoward that could potentially harm her little ones. But isn't she looking good for an old girl? She's looking very, very sort of healthy, and obviously she's well fed because we can see she's very round. But other than that, her body condition is really good. I mean, she's 12 years old. She doesn't have too much atrophy of her muscles. She really does look quite healthy. But what's just happened? Something's just happened. Look, all the hyenas have just run. I don't know what's come in. Maybe there's something that they've just spotted, but every single one of them has run the young ones into the mound. I wonder, maybe these lions have arrived somewhere. I don't know. But something has just set them off, that's for sure. I have no idea what just happened. Maybe it's the fact that they've just seen other hyenas and they just kind of got confused between everybody and thought maybe it's another clan. I don't know, but the instinct is to run away from the den, and the reason why they're doing that is because if there's any other predator around you, so let's say lions or even other hyenas or wild dogs or anything like that, rather take the attention away from the den, get away from this area, let the young ones go inside. They're going to be very safe in there. It's going to be very difficult for something like a lion to actually get in and get towards those cubs, and rather take the attention and try and drift and pull everybody away from this area. So that's the instinct that they have. It might not be anything. They might have just got a bit of a fright, because I see one is starting to come back now, and so maybe it was just a fright that they got, and now they'll start coming back and everybody will kind of resettle again. But definitely something gave them some sort of a kind of panic, and everybody went running. The little ones are kind of poking their heads out as if to say, what happened to everybody? It was absolute chaos here a few seconds ago. But you see, instinct is to go back down again as one of them approaches. Now I think Gwen is coming back. Yeah, she's on her way back as well. Interesting. I think also, you know, at the end of the day, there's also a carcass around. Look at her coming in. She's not happy. She's chasing them off. She's basically saying that, listen, I have worked hard. I dragged this a long way for my little ones, not for you to eat. And that's maybe why she's also having a bit of a... Also depends on the rank of that individual, but it's a male, so it has to fall in behind him. Joshua, you're asking if hyenas will share kills or if it's every man for himself. Well, Joshua, it depends on the size of the kill. So if it's something really large and they can all kind of get around, then yes, they do share. But there is definitely a hierarchy system in hyena society. It depends on who you were born to. You can see now Ribbon's also coming in and chasing. I think it's Ribbon chasing this male away, but it depends on hyena society. So you've got a situation where you've got matriarchal females and very kind of clear defined roles within the clan, and so as you are developing and as you kind of grow up, so you know where you stand. And then at a carcass you'll find that the matriarchal females, they are the ones that are going to feed first before anybody else, and they're going to provide for their cubs before anybody else. And then it will go down the list until you get kind of the lower ranking females and then the males after that. The interesting thing is if a male is born to the matriarch, let's say, he will hold quite high status while he's in the clan, so he'll still be able to feed with the females, but it's going to, as he gets older and becomes sort of less seen as a young one of that female, so he's going to have to fall down the ranks a little bit. So there is quite a clear defined sort of feeding pattern within them, but it's not, you know, if it's a big enough carcass, then they will share it together as well. Now I believe Chris has got some IDs on our hyenas, because Chris is probably one of our experts, well, biggest experts on the hyenas. Okay, so Gwen, Ribbon, obviously we know Gwen and Ribbon are here, and the cubs, but apparently Hart and June are also here, and so they... Oh. And there's just hyenas everywhere, literally. They are just... And Comet is also here apparently as well. So there's just hyenas everywhere. And like I say, they just come drifting in and out. So it's actually really tough to work out who's who and who's coming in and out all the time. It's tough to see, and you kind of have one that comes in and then it disappears, and another two come in and go. And so I think there's just still the original 6 around here that we first found walking towards the den, but it's just difficult to kind of work it out. And you can see Gwen is still moving around. She's got a bit of a limp on her, but that's not stopping her. You can see she's still really full and fat and as healthy as ever. So even though she's got this limp, much like Shadow and Tundi when they had their limps, she's still able to kind of work it out and survive and find the necessary food she needs to survive, and not only for her to survive, but for her little ones to provide milk and to provide food for them as well. But you can see they're nervous, and the reason they're nervous is obviously any time there's a food item around the den and commotion like what we're hearing this morning, where there's lots of squeaking and howling, this kind of excitedness will attract other predators. Like I say, it can attract other hyenas, it can attract lions, it can attract big leopards, and so you might find a situation where that's why they're so on the lookout, is because the food is here. They know there's also a scent that has been dragged to this area, and therefore they need to be kind of aware of what's going on. It will be interesting though if a clan member from maybe the Elephant Plains clan arrives here out of the blue because it thinks maybe there's a food item going on. Sometimes it can happen that 2 clans come together and then there will be absolute chaos. Hyenas, when they fight, are ruthless with other clans. It gets quite nasty and quite violent quite quickly. I know VM has seen a sighting where one of the hyenas' ear got ripped off and its foot got crushed, and they really do go after one another. So it's going to be interesting to see if any other hyenas do arrive. The amount of noise that's been made this morning will have carried quite far, and there will have been a lot that would have heard it. So see, there's another individual just approaching that everybody's kind of watching from the far side at the moment. I don't know if it is part of this clan. No. So there's a couple of the others, and Gwen is going in that direction. You can see everybody's now running. I wonder if it's because she's kind of chasing them a little bit, and that's why a lot of the males are moving away. But it's just absolute chaos, really. I don't know how to kind of see who is who at the moment. They're moving around too much to actually get a kind of fix on spot patterns, and every now and then you kind of see them looking behind them, and I wonder if maybe something is still moving around in this area. Langston and Lily asking, how does the pecking order, or how does the sort of ranking system in hyena clans work? Well, generally it's according to who you're born to. So if your mother is the matriarch, then in the early stages of your life you get fed incredibly well, you don't have to deal with too much competition, and therefore you get big and strong, and you're able to dominate all of the others and keep that status through your life, particularly if you're a female, and you'll in all likelihood then take over as the matriarch once the mother goes and passes on. So that's how it kind of works, is it depends on where your mother sits within the clan. In terms of males they will hold a rank according to their mom for a while. Obviously they then sort of start to fall back behind the females as they become adults. But if there are new males that arrive, because sometimes you will get new males that will arrive in a clan, those new males will fall right to the back, so they become lower than low if they are new, and then they move into this area. The older males, well, the males that are part of the clan will then kind of fall on top of them. So it's just interesting that it's kind of, that's how it works. And with regards to females, sometimes you will get a breakaway of the females, where one female will go away and she'll start a new clan, particularly if it's difficult to find food. But you can see one of them has come in and is now robbing effectively one of its clan members of food, which is pretty insane. Absolutely ridiculous. And you can see, look at how much power there is in that. And there goes the cub's food for a while, unless Gwen can come back and steal it back, which I don't know if she will be able to, because that hyena's off. There comes another one. Very, very cool. It's actually sometimes great when you had hyenas just to stop and listen. And here comes another one. But you can see how even amongst those individuals there's a pecking order. So the original one that stole it and ran away has now been chased off and is not actually at that piece of food. There's 2 others that have come in. Shh. It is just chaos. chaos. Everybody is just chasing everybody at this stage, and it's amazing how they're all full as well. It's not like they all need this food, but they're chasing one another over a little bit of skin basically, and a bit of a bone, and that's all. Now it's going to be interesting if Gwen comes in and chases them, because she's coming from the left now, and I wonder if she might chase them off and grab it and then try and take it back again towards the den. No, I think she's decided she's going to leave it. There goes Intima bouncing off into the distance as well. Intima seems to always be in the thick of it, running around like an absolute hooligan trying to find what's going on. Donald, you're asking if hyenas are still associated with African witchcraft and spirits. Well, Donald, I mean, it depends, I think, on which culture you're talking about. You know, Africa has got a number of different cultures, and they all believe different things about, you know, hyenas or any animal, really. There's not the same belief that runs through the whole of Africa. At the end of the day, it's a very large continent, and hyenas are quite widely spread through that. So it depends on what culture we're talking about. Here in this particular area that we're in, the Shangaan people, not so much. They don't really have there are one or two beliefs about them, but it's kind of died out a little bit. It's no longer the way it was back in the past, where, you know, you used to have a situation where people were a lot more cultural in what they are now. The Western world has almost kind of taken away a lot of those things, and so I haven't heard too much from speaking to the trackers and things like that. They don't have too many beliefs about these hyenas in this particular area. As to other parts of Africa, well, there could be. I mean, I know that in Ethiopia and Nigeria and places like that, there are some beliefs about hyenas and their spirits and those kind of things, but I don't know the exact details, to be honest. I've never spent time in those areas and actually speak to those people that live around them and have those beliefs. And so in this area, and the area that I've worked in, it's really not too much is said about them. They don't really have too many worries or sort of stories or anything like that. So maybe back in the day, but a lot of that has been lost, unfortunately, as westernization has taken place. Right. But it seems as though things are slowly starting to die down at the den. The little ones are in, they're not out anymore. Everybody is starting to drift away a little bit. So I think what I'm going to do is probably carry on, and I want to just backtrack these hyenas and just check if maybe something isn't following in behind them that's causing them to be a little bit on the panicky side. Maybe those male lions are somewhere around as well. So while I do that, let's go back all the way to the Masai Mara to Brent Leo Smith so he can show you his shoebill, because I don't think he's had time to do that. And well, he's also apparently near the Mara River, and I'm sure lots is going on that side.
Just having one lucky morning with those hyenas and an incredible interaction, so that's always awesome to see. The sounds around hyena dens are incredible. Now, Dangerous Dave the Dimpled Dish and myself are wandering around towards the Mara River, where we're not going to see any shoebills. We're going to have to travel all the way to Uganda to do that. So we'll show you quickly, before we continue on, what a shoebill looks like. Now, they're very big birds, about the same size as a marabou stork, and they've got this massive bill that is used for scooping up particularly lungfish, which is their favorite food. There we go. Their closest relative is, of course, the pelican. That's where that big bill comes from. And I'm very excited. Jamie's never seen them before. I have, luckily enough, seen them in Benguela in Zambia. But that was a long time ago, so it'll be very nice to see them again. And, of course, lots of other birds. I've never really bird watched in Uganda. And also quite a few different primate species to find, which is going to be quite nice. Red-tailed monkeys and all sorts of things. Now, it's been quite quiet along the riverfront this morning, so I'm hoping around the crossings will be a little bit more successful. Whoa, excuse me. lots of dust about. We actually haven't had any rain for a couple of days, or in this area. There's been rain around. Achoo! Whoa! While I fight off the sneezes, let's go across to Jamie and a large cow.
A couple of large cows, actually. In fact, several large cows. Oh, and some giraffe in the background, just for good measure, but we'll talk about those in a little bit. What's very interesting about these buffalo, and it's the herd that spends a lot of time around the Angama lugger, I think these buffalo have been hunted. And by that I mean they've been hunted by lions. So they're very, very skittish, they're very unsettled, they're not happy with each other, and they keep panicking and galloping off. And I think, just judging from their body language, they've had a rather unsettled night. And my suspicion would be the Angamas. They have been hunting buffalo since the migration has passed on and moved to Tanzania. And there's definitely an uncomfortable feeling in the atmosphere of this herd. Of course, buffalo always look at you strangely. We all know that. We speak about it all the time, the fact that they do look so peculiar. Beautiful. Lovely. Let's have a look at her face, shall we? Hey, girl. You guys had a bit of a rough night. I think so. So for our new viewers, this is actually a really nice opportunity because it's something that we tend to gloss over because we are so accustomed to chatting away to regular viewers that sometimes we don't touch on the basics as often as we should. So let's do a little bit about how you can sex a buffalo without actually having to look at the more obvious parts of it, because sometimes they're in long grass. Oh, look at that. Well, that's interesting. Growths. Now, on the joint, if we were in South Africa, I would say immediately TB, tuberculosis. That would almost always be responsible for growths like that, but I don't think that's the case here. I suspect that those are tumours of some kind, or possibly just fluid-filled sacs or cysts. I'm not 100% sure exactly what that is, but the fact that they're on her joints, you see how it's wobbling like that? Wonder if it's not full of fluid. Swellings on the joints? Oh, I would immediately have said TB. But I don't think so. No sign of moisture around her nose. None of the other signs that you'd look for. Interesting. I suppose growths happen in all animals out here. Skull, you say it doesn't look so good. No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. It doesn't seem to be impacting the way that she's moving. She's not limping. She's not struggling to move, as we saw a moment ago. She sort of did a little canter in a circle. But it doesn't look good, does it? It might be that it's a benign growth and nothing serious. Look at these guys. They really are. They're running from warthogs. You ridiculous creature. Panic! Panic! Something small is running through the grass. Everybody run! Giraffe just standing in the background. But no, it doesn't look particularly good. I'm not a vet. I wouldn't be able to come up with an exact diagnosis. But it does look discomforting. What we were going to talk about is the difference between male and female buffalo when all you can see is their heads. And it's actually very easy to tell once you've got a fully grown buffalo. That is 100% boy. So the guy, hey, okay, the female wanted some attention too. There you go, beautiful comparison. Male on the left, female on the right. And you can see it just in terms of the thickness of the boss. Now the guy at the back is he doesn't have as clear a boss as some of the others, but it's very, very thick. And you can see the gentleman at the back there has also got a very clear boss. So he's probably a young male. And then the female, actually, but when I talk about the boss, what I mean is the base of the horns, where they meet in the middle at the top of the skull. You can see the female's is completely different. It's not as thick, it's not as joined, and there's fur around it. He really wants to be on camera. He really does. Is, are you looking at my horns? Yes, they are magnificent. Obviously, when you see their bellies, it's a lot easier to tell. And as I said, it's a youngish male. A little bit more tricky with the babies. Obviously, you have to do a slightly closer examination because when they're tiny, their testicles, if it's a male, their testicles haven't descended. Good morning, Rommet. Would I say that buffalo are the most paranoid or jumpy of the animals? No. I suppose it depends upon where you are. If you drive towards the Tanzanian border where there's not as many vehicles, you'll find that all of the animals tend to run away from us almost immediately. The elephants are on edge, the buffalo are on edge. It's a lot more difficult to get close to them. But let's take the human factor out of it and talk just purely on an animal and a predator basis. I would say, what would I call the jumpiest animal? Buffalo are different because they have a tendency to respond aggressively rather than defensively. Yes, they run, but they tend to actually form together, group together in the herd and defend themselves. So often you'll find them running at a predator. Impala are certainly very alert. I'm not sure which one I would say is the jumpiest creature. It's a difficult one. And it's difficult to try and work it out without including our influence on it. But of course we've got two massive creatures here. We've got the buffalo, but I don't want to ignore the giraffe any longer either, because we keep seeing them in glimpses out of the corner of our eyes, and it's a really lovely sighting. Now the nice thing, of course, is we've got a really a comparison. We've been speaking a lot about horns. Oh, let's see if we're going to get a Fleming grimace from the male quickly. Is he going to grimace? Yes, he is. Okay, I confess to finding generally the Fleming grimace movement that the giraffe at the back is doing, it's usually exceptionally comical to witness. So he's testing the scent of her rear end to see whether there's any chance that he perhaps might have the possibility of mating with her either now or in the future. So he's checking for whether or not she's in estrus. And what he's doing is he's opening up the passages in the top of his mouth to his vomeral nasal organ, or his organ of Jacobson. And that's why there's that tongue movement as well, because it's also, he's basically tasting the smell. And often what you'll find when animals do this is that the female is actually encouraged to urinate. So she will often instinctively urinate so that the male can check the scent properly. And of course he'll be able to detect hormone levels within her urine that he can then make a decision. And I suspect that this female is getting close to being an estrus. Lovely display of the size differences there. But isn't there yet. Stanley times 3. Good morning to you. Yes, giraffe do that as well. All mammal species that we see here do it in one way or another. So in the case of elephants, they would look very silly if they tried to do their top lip and curl it up like that, because obviously their top lip is basically fused to their trunk. So what they do instead of the Fleming grimace is they actually touch the tip of their trunk to the scent, and then they put the trunk in their mouth and they touch the organ of Jacobson there in that way. So rhino do it, buffalo do it, cats do it, hyenas do it. You don't often see hyenas doing it though. Cheetah do it, white rhinoceros do it, black rhinoceros do it. You'll find that most animals will actually display one form or another of that Fleming grimace. It's quite a popular thing. Staring off into the distance. Now giraffe, and sort of being the opposite of paranoid, Giraffe have got a huge advantage when it comes to spotting predators, and that advantage is relatively self-explanatory. When your head is 4 meters or 5 meters above the ground, it really does help. But their defense mechanism is to actually, rather than running away, although they can run and they do run, their defense mechanism is usually to stare intently in the direction of the predators. And as a result, they've often been responsible for us finding a hidden predator. Now, Becca, we've got a lovely herd here, and I think there's probably somewhere in the region of around about 12 or so giraffe wandering about now. Oh, that's so pretty. Cloudy skies, moody. Giraffe can sort of hang around in family groups. So essentially they form very loose social structures. And giraffe move about. So sometimes they're together in a herd, sometimes they're on their own. They don't have a set territory, they don't have a set herd. It's not like a lion that lives within its pride. But you will find that there's sometimes a degree of family connection. So a female might wander about with her daughter for quite a long time, and their calves might be born together, and then they spend a little bit of time together because there's an advantage, there's safety in numbers. And when you look at a group like this, it's impossible to determine whether or not they are related to each other, or if it's just purely a gathering, a social gathering of giraffe. So they don't have any set kind of structure or hierarchy. The males don't have territories. They very seldom fight unless they are sparring, because you do get bachelor groups together, in which case they practice their fighting skills. Or if in really serious cases when a male or two males are fighting over a female in estrus. So once again, if you only see the tops of their heads for our new viewers, the tufted, hairy, quite thin ossicones, which is the name for the protrusions on the top of their head. They're not technically horns, although people often use that interchangeably. And it would be forgivable for thinking that. But the tufted, thin ossicones belong to females. The males have much more solid ossicones, usually with the top rubbed bald. Look at the tongue coming out, grabbing onto leaves. One of my goals, one of these days, and I think it will be most achievable in the Masai Mara, just because of the openness of the area, one of my goals is to have a live giraffe birth. So while I wait patiently in the vague hope that one of them is just going to give birth in front of us, because I think it would be spectacular to see, let's go off and join Brent, who has found something, who I'm sure is very grateful for its mane keeping it warm.
Well, hello. It's still quite cold and windy, but we have one of the 4 musketeers, not to be confused with the 5 spotted musketeers. So it is, I'm not sure which one, but one of the 4 musketeers. Now, their names are Siko, Hunter, Morani, and of course, Scarface. Now there is another one, but he's lying in the thickets behind. We unfortunately can't get any closer from where we are presently, but isn't that wonderful? It is always great to spend some time with them and just check in and see how they're doing, and they are looking quite well. Now they have been in a few fights recently, and I think there are some new males starting to put some pressure on the Musketeer Coalition. They do hold one of the best territories in the Mara, so it is a sought-after territory if you're a male lion. And of course there is the prize of the Paradise Pride and all those lovely ladies to mate with. See, he's on top. There you can get a good view. Looking around. Now I have heard some zebras calling to each other down towards the crossings, so they might be getting ready to cross. There was some distressed calling, and that's always a good sign when you are looking for a crossing. There He keeps looking down into the bushes behind, and I think that's where the other male is. Hi, Lynn. Lynn says he's got a really pretty mane. Indeed, he does, Lynn. These boys have very spectacular manes, and they are quite old, probably 12, 13 years old, so they're not going to be up at the top for too much longer. They used to be further to the north where they got pushed out, and so it does happen, and it can be quite sad when these big male coalitions come to the end of their tenure, but that is how the genetics in lions keeps the population healthy. We can only hope they survive for as long, and of course they do have the legacy of their cubs that'll continue on. And these boys have sired quite a lot of cubs in the Mara. Josh is wondering, do I think he would roar at this time of the day? Josh, there's always a good possibility, but I think most of the roaring for today has already been done earlier on. At the moment, he's looking very, very relaxed, and of course, he knows where his other coalition member is, so there's probably no need to roar right now. Is that the other line there to the left? Go out a bit, Dave. Just there. What's that there? Is that just a rock? There, yeah. Is it a rock or a log? It's a log. And he must be somewhere hidden in the thickets there. Well, we're going to leave him to snooze on top of that mound of sand, and I'm going to head down towards the river crossings and see if we get any action in that area. Hasman the Great would like to know, how big is a lion's territory? Now, there is not one right answer when it comes to this type of stuff. It all depends on the area they're in. So, for example, the Birmingham boys back down in South Africa have a much bigger territory than most of the male lions in the Mara. So there's a couple of very good reasons for this. The prey density isn't as high. So you're looking at about 10,000 hectares, 23,000 acres. There he is. There's another male lion. Hello. You see him there, Dave? Oh, hi. Oh, they are pretty. Now, and these guys have quite a relatively small territory, probably no bigger than 1,000, 2,000 hectares. And that's due to the fact that they've got a really good territory, high prey density, high female density. So they don't need to go very far or have a massive territory to make sure the genetic line is passed on and they get lots of food. Whereas in the dry broadleafed woodland of the Sabi sands, the lions there do need much bigger territories to get the same amount of food or females. Oh, they are beautiful. Having a snooze in the grass. I'm sure they're all quite excited for the sun to come up. Edu is saying the lions in the Mara seem to be a bit more active than the ones at Djuma. Not at all. They're just a bit more active during the day than the ones at Djuma, and there's a very, very good reason for that. I think currently, when it's a hot day at Djuma, we're getting close to 40 degrees Celsius, which is, I think, close to 110 Fahrenheit. So it is very hot. And if lions' core body temperature raises by a few degrees, it can put them in danger of actually dying. Whereas in the Mara, We don't really get much hotter than about 26, 27 degrees Celsius. Often during the day it's cooler than that. So they are more active during the daylight hours than the lions in the Sabi Sands, just due to the temperature. Because remember, we're at very high altitude here in the Mara. Average is between 1,500 and 1,600 meters above sea level. So that provides a very cool climate. We have a very, very solid climate in the Mara, being on the equator. There's very little difference between summer and winter for us. Whereas we're down in right down south on Djuma, and there is a very big difference between summer and winter temperatures. And also the day and nights here are very, very equal throughout the year, being on the equator, where there's a massive difference between sunrise and sunset at Djuma. So a lot of it's got to do with temperature and daylight versus nighttime hours. And as I say, it's quite often quite cold here. The wind blows, we're really high. I think Djuma's only about 400, 500 meters maybe above sea level, so we're a good 1,000 meters higher. Now, of course, it leads to some very lovely hot weather, and I'm quite a fan of the hot weather. As you can see, I'm quite bundled up this morning. I have jackets, scarf, blanket. Whereas Tristan, I think, is probably sitting happily in his shorts in the sunshine back on Djuma.
Well, I don't know if happily in my shorts in the sunshine is exactly right, Brent Smith. Also wrapped up, I have 3 jerseys on, well, 2 jerseys on this morning, and I do have shorts on though, I will be honest, and it's still quite chilly. It's probably, I would have gone with long pants had I realized it would be this cold in the sunshine. It's not a very pleasant kind of summer morning. It feels like a winter morning more than anything else. It's kind of cold and crisp. It's not that it's that bad and insufferable, but it's just, it feels kind of chilly and not really shorts weather. So I should have maybe gone with the long pants, but I didn't, and so I'm going to have to just suffer through it, and hopefully everything will be okay. Right, but since we've left our hyenas, we haven't had too much in the way of animals around. We had tracks for one of the Birmingham males walking on the Buffelshoek cut line for a while, and then they just disappear, and I'm trying to kind of work out where they went. I've checked Gari cut line, no sign of them coming out there, so we're going to try and check Hyena Road and see if we get lucky on Hyena Road with some tracks, and then all the way towards Buffelshoek Dam and just have a little look if maybe one of the male lions is lying somewhere around that area. At the moment it seems they might have gone back into Buffelshoek though, because I think there's somebody said they checked Cheetah cut line and nothing around that area, and so the only other place he could have gone is northwards, because otherwise the tracks that I had were just before Gari cut line that they disappeared. And if they didn't come down Gari cut line, then he's either sleeping close to Gari cut line in the block if he came south, or he went back north again, because there's no tracks on Central, like I said, nothing on Gari cut line. So maybe Hyena Road, and then we'll just check the cut line for the rest of the way towards Buffelshoek Dam and see, maybe we get lucky with something there. But otherwise we've had a fantastic morning. It's nice to have a bit of sunshine, I must be honest. Sky Doogie, if I was caught out here at night, what would I do to stay safe? So this is a question that gets asked quite regularly by guests, and also I've discussed this with my trackers that I've had over the years many times, and we always come to the same conclusion, is that a tree is probably not bad, but a termite mound, funny enough, is better. So on top of a termite mound, it allows you to get out of the kind of way of a lot of things that sniff around on the ground, so things like hyenas and, you know, lions, even though they do use termite mounds a lot during the day, at night not so much, and you're out of their kind of scent path, so you're not going to be sort of, your scent is not carrying around a little bit higher, so it's a lot harder for them to kind of sniff you out. Also, from a termite mound, you've got a position of height, so you'll be able to see things coming. You're also going to be able to stand your ground if something like a buffalo or an elephant or you know, those kind of things come out, hippo, so that's a good place. The tree, the problem with a tree is if something like a lion decides to come up that tree, you've got nowhere to go. It's better to be on a termite mound that you can at least still, you know, use it to get away, or to be able to kind of make some sort of a stand from it, and you've got a firm base to be able to do so. So, you know, generally I would say termite mound, a big termite mound. We're not talking about a little mound like that, because that's going to be useless on the right hand side. We're talking about a massive, steep, tall termite mound that you can get up on top, and that's where you'll be probably the safest. And like I say, all the trackers agree with that. They would rather be up on a sort of steep, very pointy termite mound on the top than the ground, that's for sure. Now, one animal that you wouldn't really have to worry about at night is this fella on the left hand side, which is a Nyala bull. They wouldn't be something you'd have to be too concerned about at night. These guys are fairly relaxed and chilled animals, and in fact, if you've got them around, I suppose it's a good sign that there's not too much happening, and at least your odds are better if these guys were to be here. But they are the most magnificent males, individuals, these male Nyala. I really do enjoy them. They've got those beautiful big ears, massive horns, and then this fluffy shaggy coat. And the shaggy coat is, I don't know, it's just very different to a lot of the other animals, particularly on the stomach and sort of back areas. They have long fur, and we know that they use that fur to try and sort of establish dominance over one another, but it's just quite unusual in comparison to a lot of the other animals that we see out here. A lot of the other animals obviously are fine coated or fine haired animals, and the reason why, because it's quite hot here. I mean, at the end of the day, you can't have thick bulky fur in hot weather, even though it's been cool over the last few days. We know prior to that it got to over 100 Fahrenheit, and so thick fur is difficult, and that's why the Nyala has been designed to stay in shady, thicketed areas, because if it was out on the plains and out in the sun all the time, it would certainly suffer with a coat as long as that. But I see something else in the background there, and I don't know if it's another male Nyala. Yes, it is another male Nyala. So there was another male Nyala that's coming bounding along, and I think it just got a fright because I started the car. You can see the one is kind of watching where that one came running from, as if to say what's going on. But I think all is fine and no need to panic. It's just a Nyala that got scared from the car. So Becca, the largest and the smallest antelope species here in the Sabi Sands. The largest is the kudu and the smallest is the steenbok. Greater Kruger National Park as a whole, the largest is an ant and the smallest is Sharp's Grysbok. And the Grysbok basically means a grey buck, because it gets these little white flecks. It looks very similar to a steenbok with white flecks but smaller. So in the Greater Kruger, the eland does occur. It just doesn't come into the Sabi Sands, and the eland is a massive antelope species, so they're the biggest. And then, like I say, the Sharp's Grysbok is the smallest. Now Sharp's Grysbok, you'll find there is pretty much straight east of here on the Bomber Mountains. You get some there, and then further to the north. So once you kind of get into the northern parts of the Kruger boundary, you start to see them. The elands are pretty much restricted to two areas, right in the extreme north and in one. Right, I believe I have a lot of breakup in picture and audio, so I do apologize about that. So we're going to just go stationary, and we're going to send you all the way back to the Mara to Jamie Patterson, who I think is out in hopefully some sunshine so that she can start to warm up, and hopefully she'll find something soon.
So this is the first time in weeks that I've driven along this lugger and I haven't found a lion yet. It's quite a strange feeling. So this is where the Marsh Breakaway Pride spend a lot of time. Apparently it's them. And I'm sure it must have been one of them that we saw that tiny yowling cub a few weeks ago. I was just telling Seb the story. Basically what happened for viewers that missed it was we arrived here and there was a tiny little cub at its den side. Mum was around, but she was pretty disinterested actually. She wasn't really... I think she didn't really feel like being harassed by the little cub, and this little thing was crawling up this river system, screeching. Ow! It was very cute. And I haven't seen them since. Brent says he has. I haven't seen them since. I've seen the older group of cubs, but not the younger. And I'm searching desperately to see if we can try and find them, but the fact that they're not... I think she moved them out of that den site because of all the rain that we had. I think that this whole system does flow when it rains. It's a drainage system for the mountains. So it does flow, and I think she probably moved the cubs to help to protect them from the risk of drowning. But so far, no luck at all. Not a hide, nor hair, nor track of any lions anywhere. But maybe, just maybe, a bit further up. I know Brent said he saw a lioness around the airstrip. If we don't have any luck there, then we're going to go search for leopards around Little Governors. I know there's a leopard that they see pretty regularly. I'm sorry, Meg. I missed the... I got the gist, I think, of that question. But I just wanted to double check that I've got the idea of it. I know it has to do with male lions and migration. And let me turn you up slightly and then I can hear. Ah, yes, okay, I did get the right idea. Roshni, yes, the migration does bring with it nomadic male lions. Does it bring lots of them? I suppose it depends on what you mean by lots. I would say that you probably get a good, maybe 10 or so, depends on year to year, but maybe 10 or so nomadic young males that have no reason to stay where they are. So the prides will stay where they are, the dominant coalitions will stay where they are, but a young male or a group of young males that have left home, they're not big enough to compete for a territory yet, they're not strong enough, there's a good chance that they're going to follow the migration to an extent. And they don't necessarily move all the way, but of course young males disperse as it is. They become nomadic and they move away from their natal area. So it makes sense for them to kind of follow the food around, unless they happen to find themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time and one of the dominant males picks up on them, in which case there's usually quite a fierce fight and the young males go running off with their tails tucked between their legs. But it's a dangerous time in a way, especially for the lionesses around the areas that are perhaps a little bit unstable in terms of lion coalitions. Maybe the dominant coalition has a very, very big territory. It's a risky time for them because they could easily lose cubs to a dominant male. Now I've got to find my way back onto the road. Please don't be a big circle. Ah, it's a big circle. Back we go. I don't seem to be having any luck in the cat department this morning. Hopefully that will change, but while I search for them, let's send you across to Brent, who's found yet another male lion.
Well, we're not sure who it is. It is one of the... it's definitely another one of the musketeers, but we can't see his face. It could be. Could it turn, big boy? Could it be the legendary one himself, Scarface? But not only is it Scarface, there's some of the Paradise Pride as well. Let me go back to the male. He turned his head. Oh, he turned away again. Oh, you cheeky, cheeky devil. But here we go. We've got some of the Paradise Pride up and about. Hello, ladies. So we're only about a kilometre from where we saw the other two males. There's a young sub-adult there. Let's see. Not too hungry. You can see the little spots all over. Well, might walk up and go say hello. Oh, is that a young male there as well? Yes, another one of the young Paradise boys. They might come up to the big male to say, how's it? What's cracking? What are you up to? They also might have spotted something on the other side of the river. This pride crosses the river regularly. Proud Cat Mama is wondering, do lions need water every day? They do not, Proud Cat Mama. They are able to get a lot of their moisture needs from the blood of the animals that they devour. So they're quite lucky in that respect. But while water's available, they will take advantage of it. They will drink every day if it is available. If it is not, however, they are able to find their water needs in different ways. Now they are looking towards the male. Oh, there he is. He's going to turn his head before you get back again. Megs, I'm getting a little bit of a comms breakup. Can you go with that question again, please? Oh. The lionesses are calling. Not roaring, but calling. Okay, I'm just going to move the vehicle a little bit. I'm just struggling with comms. And see, maybe if we move the car a little bit, we might get better comms again. How's that, Dave? That works. Let's try that again. I think there was a tree between us and the radio antenna. Dorth is wondering if they're calling. That main roar is actually coming from a lion we can't see, somewhere behind the females, the loudest of the roars. But Dorth was wondering, if a lion's tooth comes out, will another one grow in its place? Unfortunately not, Dorth. So once they have two sets of teeth in their life, very similar to human beings, and they have their baby teeth that they lose about 6 months when they're weaned, and then their adult teeth. And once it's gone or broken, or it is gone, unfortunately for them. These lionesses look like they've seen something behind us. Dave, can you see anything behind us? I wonder if there's maybe some zebra thinking about crossing the river. It doesn't look like. Oh, the boys we're with earlier are calling now as well. So it's not Scarface. Now, judging from their behavior at the moment, I think they might have heard lions or lionesses that don't belong to their pride.